Hi, I'm Jessica, and when I'm not drinking all the coffee, watching Razorback sports, or hanging out with my family of boys, it's my passion to help elementary music teachers just like you find your unique teaching style. My goal with this podcast is to share helpful tips, strategies, and to give you the motivation you need to gain momentum in your teaching so you can continue being the music teacher rock star you already are. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. You are listening to episode 83. Today's conversation is one I had back in the summer with Bethany Johnson, and you can find her on Instagram at Miss General Music, and that's MISS. And she is now in the middle of her second year of teaching. And when we recorded this, she was going into her second year of teaching. But this episode is all about your first year of teaching, what her experience was like as a first year teacher, what it was like going from student teaching to her first year of teaching, and any advice she has for any first year teacher. Whether you are right out of college, whether you just started your first teaching position in January, whether you are in the middle of your first year of teaching, or whether you're just thinking about going into being a music teacher and you're wondering what your first year might be like, this episode is definitely for you. Even if you're listening to the podcast and you are out of your first year of teaching, this episode will definitely be helpful to you as well, because we talk about things like giving yourself grace and the hard days and what to do with them and all those things as well. So still listen, even if you are not a first year music teacher, because you will still find value. But I am so excited to introduce her a little bit to you. She grew up in Richmond, Virginia. She earned her bachelor's degree in instrumental music education from George Mason University. And she just completed, like I said, her first year of teaching in Northern Virginia and is now in her second year of teaching. She team teaches approximately 1,000 K-5 students per week, which is awesome that she teaches that many students, but also crazy. And to team teach, we're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode as well, because I know that's not very common to team teach, especially during your first year of teaching. So without further ado, I am so excited for you to listen to this conversation I had with the amazing Bethany Johnson. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have Bethany Johnson on. And like I already did, I introduced her in the intro. And I just want her to kind of take it away and tell us a little bit about herself and her as a music teacher and about how many years she's been teaching and all those good things. So Bethany, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on here. So I am from Virginia. I've lived in Virginia my whole life. I teach in the northern part of Virginia, although I grew up in Richmond. And I just finished my first year, which means that
Awesome.
now, in a week or two, I'll be starting my second year. So I'm looking forward to seeing how different that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But my first year was a little crazy. I was in a unique situation in that my school is really big in comparison to a lot of other elementary schools out there. It's kindergarten through fifth grade, and we have over 1,000 kids. And there are 2 full-time music teachers and only 1 music room. So I actually team teach and share my music room, but my co-teacher was in her first year as well.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's a unique situation and super fun. We kind of just like figured out our teaching styles together. We got to share our first year and help each other out. But yeah, so we see 1,000 kids twice a week together. We have 50 kids at a time in the classroom. We lead together. Yeah, it's really crazy, but because we were both first year teachers, we kind of got to make the program whatever we wanted it to be. And that was really fun. I totally got to own my program, and I loved that about my first year.
Oh, totally. I mean, that is such a unique situation. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
honestly feel like nobody else has that situation.
No,
It
I don't
was
think
uniquely
so. Yeah.
ours.
Which is a good job. But I mean, I love that you said that you guys, I mean, you mentioned to me earlier before we started recording that you guys shared a classroom. Did you say that? And how did you make that work?
Yeah, so the previous teachers who we actually are friends with, we talk to them all the time. They did it differently, where they took turns using the classroom. So one of them would teach on the cart and the other would use the classroom, and they'd switch off. And Grace, my co-teacher, and I came in and we were like, how about we just share the classroom, which means that we team teach. We're both leading at the front, but there are 2 classes at a time. So we'll have like 2 fourth grade classes at once. One of them technically belongs to her. One technically belongs to me, but we lead it all together. 50 kids, 2 teachers.
Oh my goodness.
Logistically, it can be kind of hard, but we made it work.
Yeah. Wow. That is a really unique situation. Oh my goodness. And doing that all during your first year of teaching is just like, kudos to you. I feel like I just need to mail you some brownies or something.
Oh, thank you.
Something. My gosh. And I know everybody listening to this is like,
I don't think she and I knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
We were both like, it's our first job. We'll do whatever we can. And it worked out really well. But I feel like if you offered that to a more seasoned teacher, they would be more nervous. But we didn't know what was going to happen. So we just jumped right in.
Yeah.
It worked out. It was fun.
And the first thing that makes me think of is I know a lot of times music teachers, like my experience, I had a mentor teacher who taught 3rd grade my first year. Not that she was a great teacher, but she didn't know a thing about music. And so you had a mentor teacher, but you also got to kind of mentor each other during the school year. Like, and I always tell teachers that like mentorship can come from the teacher down the hallway, or in your case, the teacher that's standing right next to you in the classroom.
Totally.
So yeah, do you feel like that? Like you got mentored a couple different ways from your mentor teacher?
Well, it was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm really lucky, or we both are.
Mm-hmm.
We're both really lucky because the county has a great mentor program on its own.
That's great.
So we had an in-school mentor who was a 5th grade teacher. We also had a music mentor who worked at the elementary school down the road from us, who I love. She's wonderful. She was such a big help to us. So was the 5th grade teacher. But like you said, we didn't get as much music help from her. It was more just like moral support, which we all need.
Yeah.
And Grace and I kind of built our teaching styles together, I guess.
Yeah.
Because in your first year, you don't really have your style set in place yet. You're kind of figuring it out as you go. And so we got to figure it out together. And I totally got to ask her questions and she could ask me questions. And kind of if a lesson wasn't going great, then we had safety nets in each other where I could give her the deer in the headlights look and she could save whatever was happening. So yeah, it was totally fun to have somebody my age and in the same boat as me. So we were kind of in the struggle together. But I'm also lucky in just that we had so many mentors in the county to rely on.
That's amazing because, like I said, I know so many teachers that either aren't assigned a mentor teacher or they feel like they don't know where to go for help or their mentor is just not mentoring them. So do you have advice for new teachers listening to this when they don't have any mentorship or a good situation?
Well, what I would say is use as many resources as you can. I know I did that my first year and I'm so glad that I did. It is never a bad idea to reach out to anybody, whether it be a music teacher or not. But I'm happy that I got to know so many music teachers in my county. I still talk to the teachers that were previously at my school, so they have kind of the inside scoop on the program. I had my mentor who was right down the street, but I got to know the other music teachers in my county as well. And on top of that, I am so into the Instagram community where there are hundreds of thousands of people sharing lessons and ideas and advice online in blogs or Instagram or, YouTube, whatever.
Oh, totally.
I eat that stuff up. So if you don't have anyone physically in person to ask advice from, there are plenty of people online who would love to help you. And I have totally used that resource as much as possible.
Oh, yeah. I think it's so cool that I was talking to another music teacher about this the other day, that the day and age we live in now,
that there are so many online resources available.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we're so connected.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible because when I started out, there was not that support. It would be like email a music teacher I had met at a conference and then may or may not hear back from them. And then you're trying to get as much information as you can at a conference. I just think it's amazing now, that you can just literally, like you said, hop on Instagram and then bam, someone's posted a story about something you definitely need.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Click to their website and check it out. Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, having that support is great.
I can't tell you how much I use that Instagram community. I ask a million questions on there and people are always willing to answer and have great ideas. And that was like one of the biggest resources that I used this year, was just talking to people online. Plus I had people in my county who were very happy to help as well. So
that's great.
That's important. You want to be connected.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times, have you felt this way where you feel like if you do email or, Instagram message or whatever it is and ask someone a question that you're bothering them? I feel like a lot of times, first teachers are afraid of asking because they're like, oh, well, they're so busy. I don't want to bother them. And so have you ever felt that way, or do you just encourage them to just get out there and try?
That's like the most relatable question you could ask me. I feel like not even just in like the music ed world, literally texting anybody that I don't know very well. I'm like, oh, they don't want to talk to me. Like, I don't want to bother them with this question. But honestly, if you take a step back, like if somebody asked you a question, you wouldn't be like, I wish they would leave me alone. That's not how that works. So
that's true.
I've just found, people are so welcoming and excited to help because we have all been in those shoes before. I just finished my first year. I am so ready to help anybody who has any questions because it is a struggle sometimes and you need those people. You're not bothering anyone by asking them.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I would say just do it. And you know what?
Just do it.
Yeah, if you don't hear back from like 4 of the people, but you hear back from 1, it's still,
then just don't message those people again.
Right, exactly. And you'll figure out quickly who are the people that will connect with you and who won't.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about going from student teaching to your first year of teaching. I feel like that is for me personally, that is where I learned the most about teaching music, was my student teaching experience.
Yes,
of course,
absolutely.
You have practicums in college and you learn you learn about what to do. But when you finally get in there and, kind of take over a classroom a little bit. But my cooperating teacher was totally different teaching style than me, which is not a bad thing. I still learned from her. But like when I finally got my own classroom, it was kind of like, okay, wait. Whoa, this is mine. And I had to really just, like you said, figure out my teaching style. So when you're encouraging a teacher going from, maybe they're student teaching right now, maybe they're in college listening to this and they're student teaching, or they're about to begin their first year teaching. They just student taught in what would that be? The spring, if you're listening to this in the fall. What advice do you have about that?
I totally agree with you. Jumping from student teaching to having your own classroom is a big leap. It can be really overwhelming. And I think the difference for me is that when you're student teaching, it is the most valuable experience that you get in college. But what's missing is setting the foundation with those students, because you're basically coming in and borrowing someone's program, and they have already made relationships with those students probably across many years. They set up the routines and procedures in that classroom. The atmosphere is already determined at that point. So that was out of your hands. When you go to your own classroom, all of that is up to you.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized that when I was student teaching.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I've got this. And then I had my own classroom and I had this feeling of like, I'm not qualified to be doing this.
Which I can tell you, every new teacher has those thoughts. It's totally a real thing.
I walked into that classroom. I'd signed my contract. I knew technically I was supposed to start teaching soon, but I was like, I don't think that I'm allowed to be doing this yet. Like, what?
I know.
there's going to be students in here. Yeah, it was a scary feeling. That is what the big difference is. But when it comes down to it, the most valuable thing you'll get out of student teaching is just being in front of kids. And everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
So ask your cooperating teacher as many questions as you can about how they set up the beginning of the year. I know I did that. I was like, in the first week of school, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I kept up my friendship with my cooperating teacher. I love her. I still get coffee with her.
That's
so
awesome.
You can still ask questions even when it's over.
Yeah. I love that. Now, I've never heard it said like that, but it's so true. You said it's like you're borrowing someone else's classroom. And I mean, it's so you don't realize like until you get in there, like during your first year, you get to set up your own procedures and your classroom management and the environment, and the students get to know you, that how much that does matter. And so that kind of segues right into this. I want to just talk about any advice you have for new elementary music teachers. So that ties right into that. I guess one of the first pieces of advice is, how do you start the school year? What would you say, like the very first week of school, would you say go for it with procedures and classroom management, or form relationships, or whatever advice you have? I would love for you to just share.
Okay, so when I was going into I can say a lot about that.
Oh, totally.
I'm somebody who researches everything as heavily as possible before I do it. So when I was going into my first year in August, I was reading so many blogs about like, what do I do for my first lesson? What do I do in the first week of school? And pretty much everyone seems to have a different opinion on this. So there's really no wrong way to go about it. What I wish I had done, however, is spend more time on setting the foundation, like ground rules and routines at the beginning of the year. I went on the I want them to get to know me. I want them to have fun on the first day. That was great and all, and I still think that's important, but it'll make life so much easier if you even just begin by telling them how to enter the room and how to exit the room.
Yeah.
Because when the routines are there, everything else goes smoothly. And it's a lot harder to do that later than at the beginning of the year. So I don't know. When I first started, I was like, wow, there's going to be 1,000 kids coming through this room. They don't know me and I don't know them. How am I supposed to tell them what to do when I don't even know what I'm doing? But if it's as simple as how to line up or how to sit on your spot, it'll make every day easier. And I really wish I had done that, because I kind of went back and did it after winter break, which was fine, but it would have been great if I had done that in the fall.
Right. One of the biggest pieces of advice, I had a mentor, and I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but she shared with me, and I looked at her like a deer in the headlights, like, what? But she said, be firmer with your students at first, not mean, not, you don't want to hate you, but firmer at first, and then you can loosen up as the year goes on. And I was like, what? But it totally makes sense, because like you said, when they know the expectations and know the procedures, then like you said, I don't think you realize like a lot of classroom management is just having those procedures in place. And then more teaching can take place because you have these, these procedures set up. And so I love that you said that. So
kids, they want to do the right thing. You just have to tell them how. So if you never tell them how, it's not going to be what you expect.
That's true. It is so true. And it is hard because there's a fine balance in wanting your students to like you and wanting to be their friend and love on them. And like you said, you wanted to just have fun from day one, because who doesn't? We all do. And you want them to come in and, love music. But, but of course have a fun activity plan, but you can even do procedures, go over the procedures with them by making it fun as they're doing it,
exactly.
Hey, let's sing a song. Hey, by the way, this is my procedure for singing, or this is how I want you to get into.
You can take 5 minutes to do it.
It's true.
Yeah. I wish I had done that.
Yeah, and that's okay. But yeah,
and I will this year.
Yeah, and that, what I do feel like that's a lot. You can probably agree with this. Is your first year teaching it's a learning year, and I love to encourage new teachers to give yourself grace, because you're going to make mistakes and you're learning what to do. You've never done it
Yes.
before by yourself, you know? And so,
Yeah.
would you encourage teachers to just, first year teachers to just, I can't say that word, to just give themselves grace?
I just want to say, anyone who's listening, you are going to make mistakes, and a lot of them. So you can't wallow in pity if you do that. Honestly, you're going to laugh about it later.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole year, like you said, is learning. You're doing it for the first time, and things are going to happen that you never ever expected. And that's going to happen. I mean, I can't say it for myself, but I'm sure in the future, I'm going to feel the same way. In my second year, I'm still going to be making mistakes. But you know what? The kids aren't even going to pick up on half of it, so it's fine.
Yeah. And and it is so true, that phrase, fake it till you make it. I had someone else tell me that advice, just pretend you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And I would be like, all right. So I was just like, hey, you guys, so welcome to music. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. But it is. I mean, they have to be able to view you as the teacher and as the leader. And because, like you said, they do want someone to follow. They do feel more comfortable with expectations. And so
they do.
Even if you don't feel like you know what you're doing, just pretend.
Pretend also, because kids can smell fear. So if you aren't faking it, then they will pick up on it. But if you are overly confident, they'll go with it. It's fine.
Yeah. And just, I think another thing, another piece of advice I would offer first year teachers is, like you said, you don't know what's going to happen until the school year starts. But brief. I mean, I had physical fights in my classroom, which hopefully a lot of teachers don't have to deal with that. But but verbally, even you're going to have to say things to you and like mean things. And, you know, it's like you have to just develop a tough skin. Although you love your kids, like, I mean, you don't even have to name specifics unless you want to, but situations like that that happened that you were like, whoa, nobody ever told me I was going to have to deal with this.
Oh, sure. I mean, every school, there's going to be behavior things that happen that no one really prepped you for. And some of those, it's just kind of like, put music aside and deal with that. And don't stress. Like, sometimes working something out with a kid is more important than the lesson you had planned that day. And that's okay. But sometimes even like funny things will happen that totally derail your lesson. And I had to learn that is just part of the job, and it's fun, and just like enjoy that funny moment. Two come to mind. There's one where I was so excited about this lesson. We were going to go outside and we were going to jump rope as part of the lesson. And we get outside and there's a balloon floating through the air. And apparently second graders cannot ignore a balloon floating in the air. So we didn't jump rope. We sat outside and we stared at that balloon until it wasn't visible anymore. And it was like, well, my lesson did not happen today, but that's okay. And they still talk about it. So apparently that was fun. And there was another one where there was a bug in my classroom, and it was crawling around the floor, and most of the kids had not noticed except one kid, and he's like my buddy, so he was not making a big deal. So I just put a cup over it and I whispered to him, "Don't tell anyone what's under the cup." And he was like, "Okay, I got you." And then like 5 minutes later, he tapped me on the leg and he was like, "The bug got out of the cup."
Yeah. Gosh.
And I was like, okay, listen, everybody, I need to deal with this problem right now. And I had to evacuate this bug out of the room. And it's just like, you never know what's going to happen. And if your lesson doesn't go how you expected it, then so be it. It'll be a good memory.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. So my first year teaching had kids pee on my floor. I had to
me too.
up. Oh, yeah. Like all these things.
Yeah, I had that too.
And you're like, wait, these are things I don't feel they teach you in college. Like,
No.
hey, you're going to have to stop
How would they?
for a bloody nose. It just randomly starts dripping. You know, uninterrupted announcements that randomly go off all the time during music class.
Fire drills with 50 kids.
Oh, man. And you hadn't even practiced. You kind of forgot, oh, wait, where do we go? because we haven't practiced it yet.
Yeah.
And it's your first year.
Because I'm a first year teacher. Where do I go?
I know. And then you're asking as you're walking out the door, back to faking it till you make it. You're
And then
like,
you're faking it.
yeah, we're
You're
going
like,
this way.
yes,
No,
kids, we go this way.
this happened
And
to
they're
me.
all going, no, we don't.
I know. Yeah, they know. Everybody's outside, and then they're like, where's Miss Peresta's class? And we're still wandering around the hallway. And I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know where to go. And it was like, and then I knew after that because I got in trouble. But, it was like, nobody told me.
It's like, how would they know to tell you?
Yeah.
It's the little things that we take for granted that we're like, oh, no one ever informed me. I just found out the hard way. And it's funny now.
Mm-hmm. And even don't you find when you're teaching certain songs that some lyric, one word out of the whole entire song, and it's something that shouldn't even be funny, and the kids find it hysterical.
Oh,
you get them back. You're like, why is that funny? I don't even know. Oh, man. All the time.
When you're out of the loop and you don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
10 people are giggling and you're like, I don't get it. Yeah, that's happened so many times. Or one class finds it as like hysterical, but no one else does. So it's like, why did that really strike a chord with some of them?
Yeah, so just little things like that. Don't let them derail you because it happens. It's
just roll with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, girl, I have enjoyed this interview so much. Before you go, do you have anything else, any other advice you can think of to share with new music teachers who are listening to this?
I would say, your job is to teach music, but your job is also to teach kids. And they're going to remember how you made them feel much more than what you did on Tuesday afternoon in music class. So make sure that you are getting to know the kids and that you are having a good time, because they're going to remember how much they loved you. And if they go on to be stellar musicians, that's great, but it's more important that you have a strong relationship with them. And that's just the fun of the job.
I love that so much. That's awesome. So I would love for you to share with us before you go, where can everybody find you online?
Sure. So if you have an Instagram, and I surely have talked up Instagram, so I encourage people to join that community. You can follow me at Miss General Music. Miss is MISS. And feel free to ask me any questions you want. I am always happy to help. I had a crazy first year, and I hope that I could be at least some help to some people out there.
Oh, girl, I know you will. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with everybody. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, I would love for you to review the show and leave a rating on iTunes. To find out more about how I can help you gain momentum in your elementary music teaching career, head to thedomesticmusician.com, where you'll find free downloads, courses, the blog, and so much more. Continue teaching music and never doubt the impact you're making each and every day in the lives of your students.